All right, well, that brings us through to our guest expert for tonight, Kyle Malosh, who is from Social Geeks Digital. Kyle and I have known each other for a number of years now. He used to live on the Gold Coast, and when I was here, I'm actually still here on the Gold Coast, but he's gone up to the Sunshine Coast, which is where he currently hangs out. But he's got a digital marketing agency, and he's got such a good process when he works with clients with their lead generation. He's got a real emphasis on AI and AI-driven strategy with human-centered marketing, which I absolutely love. I remember sitting down with Kyle at an expo, a small business expo, sort of a number of years back. And one of the things that we were chatting about was, and this was like early days of AI, and his comment was that, and I've always remembered this, he said, I think my job is going to be gone in about 5 years' time. So AI was coming along at such a rate of knots there. He could see the writing was on the wall in terms of, it just being so accessible to other people. But I think, the really good thing I liked about Kyle is that he hasn't sort of just fallen over and said, well, I give up, AI's here. He's actually embraced it, and he's now sort of incorporated that into the business, and he teaches people how to use sort of AI and demystify it in the business. And that's really what he's here about tonight, to come and talk to us about AI, about human, about ads, and how that whole platform's changing and how you can use it to really help you in business. So let's put your hands together. Welcome to the stage, Kyle Malosh.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Nick. That was quite the intro. And, I just got to say, you're amazing at this. This is such a pleasure to see you in action. Hello, everyone. It's great to meet you all. I'm going to try to share my screen and dive into a little bit of a presentation tonight, talking exactly about, I'm going to focus on Google Ads and AI. The reason for this is that Google is still a center point in the AI world, and it's very much still a key part of our digital marketing efforts for businesses. Essentially, what we find is that Google seems to be the less cool kid on the block. A lot of people are talking about ChatGPT. They're talking about Claude. They're talking about Perplexity. There's all these different AI models that have popped up that people are starting to use. I realized that today I spoke on this podcast probably 2 years ago, and I was touching on the AI campaigns that Google had launched. It's changed so much since then. We've literally gone parabolic in terms of what they're doing and how much they're integrating AI into their platforms. But the thing that I'll say is that Google search is still the starting line for most digital marketing customer journeys. People will start there when they're searching for information. They'll start there when they're looking for reviews, or they're trying to qualify a product or a service. They'll try to use Google search for a range of different things. And there's some stats that say that half of retail customer journeys start with a Google search. So even in the real world, people are starting on Google and then walking into a store. So it does have a really big impact. And Google still dominates the search engine market. It's 91% of the search market. So it's a huge part of that. But we know, I've got my Google device going off. So we know that the robots are rising, that weekly chat usage is jumping really big. I'm going to turn off this Google thing. There we go. So my Google device was listening. So ChatGPT has gone parabolic. It is now the most dominant AI app on the market, and it approximately handles about 1 billion searches per week, which works out to be roughly about 150 million searches per day. So that's ChatGPT. It is the dominant player in the AI app world, followed up kind of by Google, but we'll go through the market in a bit. Monthly Google AI users, it's about 2 billion monthly users. So you can see that ChatGPT is actually dominating the landscape when it comes to Google AI versus ChatGPT AI. And in total, when we looked at some of the stats, AI chatbots have about 233 million daily visits. That's a lot, right? Like, that's a lot of people using these tools. The thing that I will say, though, even though the robots are rising, there's still a big relevance in terms of Google, but we'll touch on that in a bit. What I'm looking at here is all the stats. We can see over the last year that the web traffic per month using AI models has gone from about 2.7 billion monthly uses to about 6.4 billion users. It's growing exponentially. And I think we all know that. AI is everything everybody's talking about. It is definitely important in your digital marketing that you're thinking about how do you come up in AI searches. ChatGPT, Gemini, Grok, those are the three biggest models, but ChatGPT dominates the AI landscape. It's not even a really close competition. If we look at the total market, it's about half of the market is ChatGPT, and then it's followed up by the second biggest, which is Grok, surprisingly. According to this study, it looks like it's about 2% of the market. Gemini is about the same. So there's a huge difference in terms of how many people are using these platforms. The reason I think that Google is still a really center part of your AI strategy is that there are 8.9 to 14 billion searches per day on Google. I was saying before that there's 150 million searches per day on AI in total. So that is a huge discrepancy, a huge difference. You can see why Google is still a very relevant platform for your digital marketing. This is, on average, there's like 2-3 searches per day for every human, right? Like that's the numbers essentially, like about that. Because remember, there's not everyone using computers. There's a lot of people who don't have internet. So there's, a lot of people who are using Google still in their daily lives. So the thing that I'll say is that when it comes to digital marketing, I still think it makes sense to focus on your Google strategy. It's still one of the most omnipresent platforms of all time. It's 8.9 billion daily searches. They also own YouTube, so that's 3 billion monthly active users on YouTube. They have a huge ad network with display ads, which are shown on millions of websites, as well as mobile apps. So all those free games that you might play. I had a client who was complaining about, she was playing Sudoku and the ads kept popping up and she was like, oh, it's so annoying. And I was like, yeah, it is. But that's what you get if you're not paying for an app. They have to monetize it somehow. So those are generally Google ads as well. Annoying, but effective. You do see them and sometimes you click on them. So getting those ads in front of you can be, or in front of your target market, can be a really impactful way to run digital ads. And then on top of that, we've got Gemini AI, which if any of you use Google Workspace, you know that Google is shoving this into everything they possibly can because they want to compete with ChatGPT and they really want to get market share. So they've already got 91% of the search market. They're now putting Gemini AI and AI mode into their search so that you're starting to use Gemini. They're putting it into Google Docs, they're putting it into their Gmail, they're putting it into everything. So they're really, really trying to make people use Gemini AI, which we use, but we also use ChatGPT, we use Claude. They all have different advantages, but it is getting really, really good. So in a nutshell, Google is still dominating the digital landscape. I believe the stats are that it's like they have 95% reach in terms of all internet users. They're basically everywhere. Even if you don't use Google, they're reaching you somewhere, somehow, whether it's YouTube, websites, mobile apps, or any of their other tools like Chrome, or obviously Android is developed by Google. So they are a very, I guess, like an entire ecosystem into themselves. Kind of scary, actually, when you think about it. Now, I want to touch on Google Ads because I'm a big believer that if you have a small business, you can focus on SEO and you can focus on organic rankings with AI as well, but it does pay to pay for getting some reach. The reason that I like ads is that it will help you in crafting a better strategy with your digital marketing. A lot of people will start writing articles, they'll start blogging, they'll start, doing all these changes to their website to try to rank better on Google search and on AI tools as well now. But if you do start ranking, and let's say that content is focusing on a search that is not converting your traffic, it's informational only, then you've wasted 3 to 6 months of your life publishing content that's not doing what you want it to do. You want to have a clear, proven, kind of data that really shows you things are working before you start spending all this time creating content and publishing and so on. Because it takes a while for you to rank organically. It takes a while for you to be, to get that YouTube video that people start watching. And running ads can be a really effective way to test what could work for your business and then double down on the things that are showing good results. Google Ads gives you the really beautiful reach, a very broad reach of not just be focusing on your Google search campaigns, which will tell you what types of keywords people are interested in, I guess, to click through and then come to your website. You can also test video content. You can test video content on YouTube. You can choose where you want your YouTube videos to show up. It could be after, suggested videos after a certain topic, or you could have your videos suggested on certain searches. So YouTube can be really effective for those of you who are using a video in your marketing. Display ads are exactly the same, in my opinion. They're exactly the same as Facebook ads in a way. They're not so much like you're not putting them in front of people who have actively searched right there and then, which would be a very high intent type of channel to advertise. But with Google Ads, you can display your ads to people who have recently searched for certain things on Google. You can choose in-market audiences and you can get those ads in front of people pretty much directly after they've searched. We've all seen those ads that when you go and you shop for clothing, or let's say you're looking at suits online or you're looking at a dress online, we've all seen those ads that will follow you around the internet. And that same bloody dress or that same suit that you looked at is suddenly on all the websites and all the mobile apps that you go to. Those are Google retargeting ads, and those are on display. So there's so many different channels that you have access to that you can test to see what is working best for your business, what type of content, what type of offers, and what strategy works best to then shape your video content, your website content, your blogs, everything like that. There's even Gmail, which allows you to test. It's not necessarily like emails, but you can test in Gmail to see what hooks, what things get people to click. So there's a lot of really cool things that you can do. And if you've ever done split tests on Facebook, a very similar method on Google Ads as well. Now, I wanted to cover off when you are testing, the reason that Google gives you a lot of really valuable insights is SEO can be really confusing, really daunting for people, especially in this day and age where everybody's using AI to post 1 million blog articles a month. And it is a bit hard to not get lost in the noise. Everybody's pumping out content. And if you're not, you can do it, but it means that you need to be more directional. You need to be more focused on what types of searches and who are you speaking to. Something that we've seen a big rise in is that informational searches, the type of educational content that you might publish on your website, it's now kind of getting to the point where ChatGPT and Google AI as well, they're doing what's called a zero-click search. They're not even letting people go to your website anymore because they're answering the question right in ChatGPT or in Google's Gemini. So those information searches are getting harder and harder to get traffic from the search engines or from AI. So you have to kind of look at what type of search are you going to focus your content strategy around. AI is great in terms of creating content, but it's also kind of getting rid of a lot of the traffic that you could organically get because now AI is able to answer the questions that people traditionally would have gone to your blog to read through from an expert your thoughts and opinions and get help in terms of that area they were looking for. So Google search types, they kind of go like a funnel in terms of informational searches are at the top. Most people will start with kind of like, how do I run Google Ads, or what is SEM, what is SEO? They're asking for a question to be answered and they're looking for information. Those are generally the broadest searches. That accounts for about 50% or more of the search traffic that we see on the internet in general. The next step down is generally people looking for something. It might be Facebook login, it might be Google Ads login, it might be whatever. They're kind of putting in a specific brand or they're putting in a specific website that they're trying to search. Now, if any of you guys have run Google Ads before, what we often do, and I think this is ethical, they allow it on Google, but you can put in a list of your competitors as search terms and run a low budget campaign so that if people search accidentally for one of your competitors, instead of putting in their website, your ads can pop up and you can have a cheeky little ad that kind of shows up that says, the number one alternative or whatever it is. and you're able to kind of pull a little bit of that traffic over to your website. So that's something that if you haven't tried before, it's pretty common. You know, a lot of people advertise on our brand name, and I'm sure that a lot of people might advertise on yours too. So you are able to kind of compete with your competitors on Google using those navigational searches or brand searches. The final two are generally the ones that I reckon if you can craft an SEO strategy, a Google ad strategy, an AI strategy around commercial and transactional searches, these can be the best for your business. Transactional searches are often thought of like where to buy noise canceling headphones online. I mean, that would be a really direct transactional search. People are looking for headphones, and that is really clear. So what you would want to craft is, have you written those articles, that content on your website in a natural language, articles that talk about where people can buy your services, where people can go to, or how can people, use your services. Things like that are really relevant and will continue to be relevant, because if you write those, AI will most likely still send traffic through to your website. Or in the future, they've talked a lot about advertising in AI. They've talked a lot about trying to, bring buying and shopping into AI. So there is going to be, I probably say in the next 6 months, I'm going to predict that there's going to be much more transactional shopping happening in a lot of the AI models as well. And the final search type that I would talk about would be the commercial campaigns. So who's the best real estate agent in my area? That would be an example of kind of a commercial search type, or people looking at how, reviews on your business, or the best this in my area. Those are people who are ready to make a decision. They're kind of getting close to a buying decision, but they're doing their research. They're doing kind of that background research on who's the best, looking at reviews. And those two I find are really good search types to focus on with your website, with your SEO, with even your social media content. Because if you can create content like this, you're feeding it into AI search, you're feeding it into Google. And realistically, the same elements that apply to SEO apply to AI search. It's all about how are you going to be indexed, what content are you putting out there, and how are you pushing that into the AI models for them to understand the context of your website and then suggest you if somebody's searching in your local area. So I hope that makes sense, guys. I like to explain this because, Google can be confusing. Let's be real. So this is a good way to kind of break that down into the key segments that we normally identify search types. So you guys all know Google search. It's not something that you really need to explain, but with all of the rise of AI, Google search is still very, very relevant. And I think that using AI to help you craft a good strategy and good content on your website is super important. Like I said before, the average person is using Google 3 times a day. So search engines are very much crafted towards helping people find information and putting the most relevant results in front of them. It's very different to social media, very different to everything else that we kind of consume, where you might be doom scrolling through TikTok or Instagram or Facebook, whichever poison you pick. And you're not really looking for anything in that moment or hours if you're spending too much time on there. So you're scrolling through. With Google, it's still very much intent based. This is somebody looking for something, and you can answer that question right at the time. It's still a very powerful marketing channel for every business. And the other thing I'll point out is that Google and YouTube are one and the same. So YouTube is a video search engine, and it's the second largest search engine in the world after Google. Google puts videos in the search results from YouTube. So, looking at your strategy for digital marketing for video is also just a no-brainer. I can't believe how many business owners are not doing anything on YouTube. It kind of blows my mind that when I'm talking about which searches you should be answering, it should be reasons to buy your service or product. And you can do that in a way where you're talking about case studies, you're talking about testimonials, you're telling stories of previous people you worked with, so that people will search you. If they are typing in relevant searches and you put that into your title, description, and potentially talk about it in the video. So searchability, very high intent, still a very low competitive kind of channel. TikTok, I know, is starting to do a lot more searchable type of content. Instagram, people are using both of those actually to kind of search. If they're going to a restaurant, for example, or they're looking for a restaurant near them, they'll actually, a lot of younger generations are using TikTok and Instagram to search for things now. So a lot of those channels are realizing that they need to kind of shift from being a doom scroll platform and to being more helpful in people's day-to-day lives and helping them find information. So Google still dominates this, and that's why I've focused tonight on Google, because I think it's such a powerful channel for every business owner. The other thing that I'd mention is that it's really good for shopping as well. I don't know if anybody uses Google Shopping in their day-to-day, but you can promote your ads there, obviously. But Google Shopping, Google Search, those are still two of the most used channels online when somebody's looking for a product or a service, looking for information. These are the traditional Google ad channels. The one that I really like, though, is display ads. The reason I like display ads is that they are the billboards of digital marketing. You're able to put up billboards for a fraction of the price that you would putting a billboard at the side of the Bruce Highway, and you're able to not just display this to tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people in your area. You can really narrow that in by demographics. You can narrow it in by interests. And one thing that I think is way more powerful than meta ads using Google is that you can target people who are in the market for certain things. And that's based off what they're searching on Google, what websites they're browsing, and YouTube as well, what they're searching on YouTube. So Google can see if somebody's in the market for, let's say, a mortgage broker, or in the market for, new headphones. You can actually target those people and say, I want my display ads, my digital billboards, to be shown to that person who's just searched for this topic or this service. So display ads can be incredibly powerful, and they don't cost a lot. People don't generally click on them. So, you pay per click with Google ads. The big thing that I love about this is that you can get hundreds of thousands of impressions for $100. Like you can stretch your dollars so far with display ads, because people don't necessarily click on them unless they're super motivated. I mean, how many times do you guys click on banner ads? I'm going to guess 0% of the time, or maybe one time by accident. So they're a really effective way to get your ads in front of people at a very big discount, and very, very powerful in terms of the targeting as well. The final channel that I'll talk about is obviously YouTube, because YouTube, you can not only get your videos in front of people, but you can also get just kind of like basic ads in front of people. So it's kind of things like little text-based ads with your site links and a button to click. So you can have pre-roll ads that are 15 seconds long. And I think people don't pay for YouTube Premium. I don't know why, but I pay for YouTube Premium because I hate watching ads, but a lot of people don't. So I can't believe it, but YouTube just surpassed Netflix as the highest used streaming app on TVs. So that's worldwide. YouTube is now the #1 streaming app over Netflix, Disney Plus, and everything else. So YouTube is incredibly powerful for small businesses. We're going to talk about how you can use AI to generate videos in Google. And to be honest, Google's now gotten to the point, like Nick said before, I'm scared that my job is going to disappear soon, because Google is making it so easy to create ads now. They've got AI generators for images, AI generators for all the text, and now even videos. You can create AI videos on your business with an AI voiceover, use your photos, and it's unreal. So you can get your videos in front of people really, really well on YouTube. Obviously, you probably want to spend a bit more time making your videos, because I think the more time you spend on your videos, the better. But at the same time, these are great just to kind of get yourself out there. And most people listen to the ads. They might kind of like run around and do stuff when the ads are streaming on YouTube, or they put on the TV while they're cooking, whatever. So your ads are there to get you exposure, get you more engagement, impressions, and people to learn about your business. So it's more about putting yourself out there in a way that you're focusing on the channels people are spending their time on. All right, so let's talk a little bit about how Google is using AI in their platform. The first campaign that they launched, and I did talk about this the last time I spoke here, because Performance Max is a game changer. But Google AI ads, they've launched 2 campaign types where they allow AI to kind of do a lot of the work for you. they back in the day, you used to have all these complicated mechanics where you used to have to pick how much you were willing to bid on having your ads show. You had to choose which channels you wanted to go to. You had to choose exactly which audience. There was a lot of mechanics that went on. And then you had to split test all of your ads to kind of have version A, version B, different headlines, different descriptions, etc. What they've started doing, and this has worked really, really well for most of our clients, is they basically say, look, rather than you doing all this work and setting up 50 different ads and trying to, understand how to tweak the system really, really well, trust us to do it for you. We're going to have our AI system place the ads in the right place. We're going to choose the right bids. We're going to do all the work for you. All you need to do is tell us which audience you want to target. So that's the same as meta ads. You say this demographic and this location with these interests, and they're in the market for these products or services. And then give us all of your images, videos, headlines, and text. So it asks for 15 different headlines for your text-based ad. It asks for maybe 6 or so different descriptions for your Google search ads. And then you can upload 20 images. You can upload 5 videos. You can upload a whole bunch of content. And it will create different variations and combinations of ads to split test and figure out what works best and where those ads work best. So is it YouTube? Is it Google Search? Is it Google Maps? Is it Google Display? It will try all of these different placements and try to aim for the best bang for your buck. If you have said, I want sales, it will try to focus on the right audience in the right place to try to get you sales. If you're trying to get leads, the same thing. It'll try to focus on the right people, the right channel to get you leads. So Performance Max, we have been using for 2 to 3 years since it launched. We normally use this in combination to search campaigns, and it works phenomenally well. It really does. So this campaign, I think that anybody can set these up. The problem is that if it's not working, sometimes it can be a bit tricky to kind of figure out what's not working because it's all in a black box. It's not like you can kind of tweak any of the little things that we used to like to tweak in the Performance Max campaign. So that's why we still do search campaigns, and then we'll launch this as a supplementary campaign on top of that. But it's an awesome campaign. The next one is called Demand Gen. And Demand Gen is, think of Facebook ads for YouTube. Demand Gen essentially is you're pushing your video content out across all of Google's platforms, and you're trying to get people to watch your content and potentially click through, buy a product or buy a service, or download a lead magnet, whatever the campaign objective is. And this is really effective because previously with the Performance Max campaigns I talked about, you're going across Google search and all other networks. But if you're just wanting to focus on video content or images, and you're trying to go on YouTube, you're trying to go on the display network, things like that, you didn't really have a choice as much. You had to kind of diversify across the entire Google network. With Demand Gen, you're saying, look, I don't want to touch search. So I'm happy doing my own search campaigns. That's totally fine. And there's an argument for that, guys. Like Google search, you still want to know exactly what searches you're targeting. You want to know which budget you're kind of like which searches you're throwing your budget behind. And it does give you a bit more control if you do it that way. Whereas with Demand Gen, you're going, look, my objective is to get more traffic to my website, more leads coming in for my business, whatever the objective is. And Demand Gen, you're saying, here's some videos, here's some images, and it will get out across all the other placements that Google have available. So that includes YouTube, Shorts, Discover, Gmail, and Google Display Network, which is the 2 to 3 million websites and however many mobile apps. So Demand Gen is AI-based, just like Performance Max. It picks and chooses where to place the ads and does that so that you don't have to set up a YouTube or a video campaign, a Google Display Network campaign, and all of that. So this has been a big game changer because this is probably the newest AI campaign that Google's launched, and it is working really, really well. It's very similar to Facebook ads, I think. You pick your audience, you give the creatives, you pick the objective, and away you go. So Demand Gen is another one that I recommend trying out if you're interested in doing it yourself. Otherwise, you can always find somebody like myself to kind of help set it up for you. But these are really great campaigns, and they're really good for brand awareness and also driving traffic from YouTube. Like I said, YouTube's great. So So just to summarize, guys, like AI is all the rage right now. And I know that Google is putting AI into everything, but people are still using Google search like never before. There's still 9 billion to 14 billion daily searches on Google. And people are using it to discover quick trends. They're using it to, be able to kind of figure out reviews, or, we went through the different search types. So they're doing a lot of different things, but we can use it as business owners to figure out what are the trends in our industry. What are the search volumes? What are the behaviors that our audiences are undertaking? And you can do that with Google Analytics. You can do it with Google Search Console. They've got heaps of free tools that small business owners should be using, because you're getting to tap into like a wealth of market research. So doing keyword research is such a valuable use of small business using Google. You can also, with paid ads and organic marketing, you can reach your target market, those 9 billion searches a day. You can reach them by crafting really good content, but you can also pay to get in front of those and see which searches actually drive value, which ones convert to your business. That's something that we do for our clients a lot, because before you do 6 months worth of SEO work, you really want to know that the keyword strategy, the words that you're targeting, that they actually drive leads, or they drive traffic, or they drive sales, whatever your objective is. So having a short, maybe, couple of months testing period where you're figuring out what words work best for you is really vital to craft your long-term strategy in digital marketing. Google's also great because you get a business profile, which gets you on Google Maps. So people can find you a lot easier. You can get Google reviews. It's awesome to make sure that you're getting reviews as much as possible, because that definitely helps. And you can also track all of your website traffic. You can see how long people are spending on which pages, what actions they're taking, and a whole bunch more. So Google Analytics, Google Search Console, all of the tools that they give you access to for free, man, set them up and make sure you've got them running, because they're incredibly valuable for a small business owner, just to be able to see what's happening on your website and what people are searching to find you. Now, with Google, I'm going to talk a little bit about how we would structure an account, because you're probably thinking a lot of this is theoretical, great to know, thanks for explaining it, but how would you set up a Google Ads account to be able to kind of reach as many people as possible and drive results into your business? It really does depend on your business, obviously, but structuring your account can be, I think, relatively straightforward, especially for a small business just starting out. The way that I would recommend this is to focus on 2 campaigns. And in Google, you can break things down into subgroups or sub-segments. So a campaign is basically, you have one objective, and that objective might be sales, it might be leads, it might be website traffic, but you generally as well with a campaign will focus on one objective and one product or service. You can do more, but I find that you generally, if you have 3 or 4 services, it'd be better to focus on having a campaign per service so you can sub-segment that down. To give you an example, we do Google Ads management, we do Facebook Ads management, we do SEO as a digital agency. So we would have, or I would recommend structuring my campaigns, my account, to have a campaign for each of those services. So I'd have a Google Ads search campaign, a Facebook Ads search campaign, and I'd have SEO search campaign. I'd each segment those separately. In those campaigns, you then can break this down into what they call ad groups. Ad groups are essentially a group of different searches that are themed together. So you're wanting to kind of group these together because for that ad group, you're going to have a specific ad that will pop up for that search. Again, to use an example of Google Ads management, it might be like Google Ads digital marketing agency would be like a keyword, or Google Ads agency, Google Ads manager, Google Ads management. Those would all be kind of terms that you could put into one ad group, because they're searching, when we go back to those search types, those are all transactional or commercial types of searches. So they're looking for somebody to help with their Google Ads and to manage it. So you'd want to have an ad that's written to those searches. Another one might be like how to run Google Ads or how to manage Google Ads. That would be a separate ad group because it's more informational. People are searching for information, and your ad wouldn't be like, hey, we're a Google Ads management agency. You might be saying something completely different. So each ad group will have its own group of different search terms that are all related, and then ads that speak to that search. The way I would structure an account would be to have campaigns per service, or to have it per product maybe. Or, if you're a business that has multiple locations, you might break it up by location. There's many different ways to structure an account. So there's no one way to do it, but it depends on your business. And normally you'd kind of split it up based on different services. So keywords are search terms. Ads, I think, are pretty self-explanatory, but those are the things that people see when they search and your ad pops up. Different titles, different descriptions, different site links. Now, when I say what's the perfect account structure, unfortunately, there's no perfect account structure. There's no magic recipe. There's nothing there that I could say is this is the best way to do it. But the way that we would look at it is we would look at your website and we go, okay, how have you broken down your website? Is it based on your different services? Is it based on different locations? That would be a really good way to break it down. The other way would be, like I just explained, looking at products and services and breaking it down there. The third way would be looking at your locations, seeing if you've got a branch in Queensland, you've got a branch in Victoria, you've got a branch in WA, we'd probably break it up so that you have different campaigns for each different location. And you could do multiple campaigns per location based on different types. So Google Search versus Google Performance Max. So I hope that makes sense. I know that I'm probably throwing a lot of information at you, but I'll try to explain this a bit more for you guys. So this would be a good example of how you could structure an account. The first 3 campaigns are different search campaigns for different products. So you'd have one for, let's say this is a gym brand. So they've got a gym in Sunshine Coast, they've got a gym in the Gold Coast. They would have different search campaigns for both of the gyms. Now, the third search campaign might be for a specific class. It might be for spin classes, or it might be for body pump, or whatever people are into these days. So you'd have a different search campaign for a specific product or service. Now, for display campaigns, this could be for the entire business. Display campaigns are those lovely billboards that I was talking about, and that can be for all of the gyms at different locations because they don't need to be too different. You can have a kind of a general campaign that targets everything so that you're able to have those banners popping up, those billboards popping up, as long as it's for people who are interested in fitness-related interests. You can say in the market for gyms, for example. So that could be a really good one. And then if you sell apparel, shopping campaigns can be really good because you're promoting your products. Now, this might seem like a lot. This would be a really complex campaign structure for anybody getting started. So if you're a small business and you're just starting out, you probably don't want to do 5 campaigns because you're going to find that you're spreading yourself really thin. It's a lot to manage and things can get pretty crazy pretty fast. So what I would recommend for a new business starting out is start with a search campaign and start with a Performance Max campaign. You can split it up so that you have $10 per day per campaign and start there. And that means that you're spending $600 a month for your ads to begin with. The best thing about Google right now is they have a credit that you can get. If you spend $600 in your first 60 days, they will credit you $600 into your account. So the way I explain it is if you're running ads for $20 a day, then you spend money and you get your second month free, right? That's generally how it can work. So search for my business or for anyone's business. Let's say you're a plumber. Let's say you're, oh no, I won't use a plumber because maybe that's a bad example. Let's say that you are a VA recruitment agency and you help people find VAs. I know that somebody was saying that before, so that might be a better example. I'd set up a search campaign saying a whole bunch of searches for people looking for how to hire a VA or the best VA agency in Australia or whatever it is, right? The search campaign is trying to figure out what are the best searches to drive traffic to your website, leads into your business, and get you customers. Performance Max, I would do the same thing, but I would create more images, I'd create more videos, and I would be targeting people in the market for a virtual assistant. And I would basically try to see how those two go in combination. So that can be a really simple way to get started. I would focus on your hero product or service. When I say hero product or service, that's like the service that you do not struggle to sell. You know that there's always people who are very interested in that particular service. Don't try to spread it too thin because advertising is all about finding more people who are actively looking for things. So it generally is a good idea to start with one product or service and really drill into that. We worked with a skincare brand recently, and they were working with an agency for some time, and they just spread everything so thin across their entire product range. They did anti-aging products, they did vitamin C serums, they did face masks, they did all these different things. And they were basically just trying to get everyone across everything. And what our data found was that their what they call their pro-aging range, or their anti-aging range, that was working best. So we kind of honed in and locked in on that. And the Performance Max campaign went from negative return to a 5 times return in a matter of a month. It was insane, the turnaround, just by focusing it in on the hero product. So don't try to go really broad, because that can be a recipe for disaster. Focus on what you know to be your hero product so that you can hone that in. And you can always scale up and then broaden out. But when you're first starting out, especially with $20 a day, you want to keep it concise and focus on the thing that you know will bring people through the door the best. So if you don't know what that is, I'm sure that Nick and other people in this group can probably help you, but that's definitely my advice, would be to keep it focused as much as possible. Now, to wrap up in terms of the Google Ads side of things, to run ads, if you've never run ads before, there's a few things that you do need to have. And this is probably a no-brainer for some, but I just want to cover it off as a bit of a tick list. So the first thing that you should have is a website, because if you don't have a website, where are you sending your traffic? You can do things like send them to an Eventbrite page if you're running workshops or events. You could send them to a landing page if you set that up, but you do want to have a website, because all your ads do is send traffic somewhere, and your website is what actually converts people. So we do a lot of split testing on websites and landing pages. We use a tool called High Level CRM. So if you are already using High Level, good stuff. You can split test in your sales funnels to try different things and see what works best. We do recommend as well, if you have a brick and mortar store, Google Business Profile is a very strong recommendation. Even if you don't, you can set up Google Business Profile to have a service area, and you can use it in your ads so that it's showing your reviews. And if somebody searches for digital marketing near me, you should pop up even if you don't have a physical address. If you're in that service area, let's say it's the Gold Coast that you've selected, and somebody searches digital marketing near me, you want your business to pop up on Google Maps, and you can do that with Google Business Profile. The next thing is we definitely recommend using Google Analytics. Google's best practices is to use Tag Manager for ads and things like that, but Google Analytics can be linked to your ad account. And that way you can track all of the traffic, you can create audiences, and the most importantly, you can track your conversions. So having that installed, I would say, is a must rather than a suggestion. You should have Google Analytics on your website to run ads. If you don't, it's not difficult to install. The only hard part is tracking events, and that's something that does take a bit of knowledge to kind of get up and running. The last few things is you need an ad account. That's an obvious no-brainer. But if you go to google.com/ads, or whatever their domain is, you can set up an account for free. And like I said, you can get a free credit of $600 if you spend $600 in your first 2 months. So I think it's a good time to look at these things. And then lastly, if you do sell products, set up a merchant account as well, because you can link your products into Google, and organic and ads, you can make sure that your products are being seen on Google search. So definitely really good. They do services as well. If you do like subscription services, or you do anything like that, you link that to Google Merchant. It's just, they tend to decline these a lot. So it's generally best for products in my experience. The last thing I wanted to cover while talking about Google Ads is the A/B testing. I know that the wonderful Nick has a great, I think it's a course coming up, or a workshop, where he's talking about setting up good sales funnels. Now, Google Ads, Meta Ads, any type of advertising or digital marketing, it's only as good as the offer and the destination. If you're running ads, but you're sending them to a website that takes 10 seconds to load, surprise, surprise, your ads are not going to work very well. And if you have a website that it's not very easy for people to, take up the offer, or to make an inquiry, or any of those things, click to call, all of those things will be another setback in terms of your conversion rates, in terms of the success of your campaigns. So the way that we normally split test is we set up offers using a sales funnel in Go High Level or High Level CRM, and we'll split test 2 different variations of that. What we like to do is we like to split test different offers. So we might have a page where we're talking about, maybe an emotional sell versus a social proofing. So we're trying different advertising styles. We might try click to call versus a form. So we're trying things like that to see what works best. But the reason you want to do this is that, like I said, if you're kind of umming and ahhing about, I wonder if this would work better than that, test it out. Think of it like the scientific method. What's your hypothesis? How do you test it as a variable? And then run some ads so that you have 50-50 traffic going to each page and test it out. And the one that works is probably the one that you should scale, right? Or at least use in the next round of testing. So A/B testing is really important as part of your marketing. And this is why I like running ads, is that you can get more traffic faster and you can validate ideas. Something that I saw, I can't remember exactly who it was that talked about this, but one of the big YouTube gurus of digital marketing, they were saying that even before you have a product or a service, if you set up a page and you run ads to it and validate the idea, that is so much better than spending tens of thousands of dollars buying product and getting everything set up and then figuring out that it doesn't work. So, you can use ads to test new ideas really quickly and really effectively, even before you have a product or service, if you do it right. And I'm not saying don't give people that service or product, but you can test it in a smart way to see if the demand is there by doing some testing. So A/B testing is really powerful, and Google Ads allows you to do that. I mean, Meta ads, all ads allow you to do that, but it's definitely something that we recommend doing as part of your initial testing process. So I've gone through a really intensive kind of walkthrough of everything there. I don't know if anybody has run ads before, but I thought that I could potentially share a little bit more about how you can build out a campaign. I just wanted to quickly check though. Can you guys see my screen here? I don't know if that's working okay. Yep, thumbs up. Okay, perfect. So this is the back end of Google, guys. This is what Google Ads look like. And what I've done is I've said I want to start a new campaign. So what I was mentioning before is that there's some new different types of campaigns. If I select my objective first, it should show this up, but I'm selecting sales. You can select leads as well, traffic or other things, but I'd say most of us are probably going to be looking for sales, or we're going to be looking for leads. Most of us, I'm guessing, are probably looking for leads. So I'm going to go through that and just kind of show you what you can do with those. When I select the different campaigns, you're going to see that there's different campaign types that pop up below when I'm setting up the campaign. You can do search, which I highly recommend. Every business that is looking for new customers has some basic search campaign running. This will inform you on your SEO strategy. It'll help you in looking at what search terms are the most relevant for your business. And it will also be a great way for you to make sure that you're popping up top of search for Google, because guess what? There's still a lot of people using Google. So it is a really relevant, really powerful way to make sure that you're still popping up at the top of the page. The other two ones that I would highly recommend experimenting with are Performance Max and Demand Gen. Performance Max is it's my favorite campaign, guys. I'm very biased, but Performance Max is great because I'll set up my search campaigns and I'll be tweaking those along, and I'll set up a Performance Max campaign to kind of go, all right, great. We're going to be targeting anti-aging skincare, and we're going to have these videos and these images, and I'll let that run. And oftentimes the Performance Max will kind of start a little bit slow, and it will kind of, we'll be seeing good traffic and things. And suddenly it'll just go parabolic. It'll just go crazy, and sales will start rolling in. We'll see really good ROI, and it's just great. So for me as a marketer, I love this because it's like, I know that within a month period, Performance Max will be kicking serious goals for my clients. And it does help in allowing you to kind of build out really, I think, really good campaigns targeting your audience. So Performance Max, I reckon, if you were to start out on Google Ads for the first time, set up a search campaign, set up a Performance Max campaign. And then in the future, when you've got some nice videos, you can always jump into Demand Gen as well. But unfortunately, the key prerequisite of that is that you do need to have some video content. I found that you can run it with images, but it's kind of like, I don't know if you guys scroll through Facebook, and if you're scrolling on video and then suddenly an image pops up, you're like, I know that's an ad, and you just scroll straight away. So I do find that doing video is really important. So with Performance Max, I'm just going to quickly show you how this can look and how you can set this up, because I think Performance Max can be a really powerful way to do this. The reason I want to show you guys a little bit of Google Ads in the background is that there is a whole bunch of new AI tools that have been added into the Google Ads campaign builder. What I'm doing here is I'm just going to say, yep, for bidding, what I want to focus on is conversions. So I'm looking for leads into my business. And you can choose to say, I want to only focus on new customers. You do require to have a customer list that you can upload into Google Ads to say, here are my customers. Please do not advertise to them because I want to focus on new customers. So that's a really good one in Google as well. I'm going to leave that blank because I don't have a customer list that I'm willing to upload at this time. Now, we talked about advertising and locations. Obviously, all advertising, you can choose the location down to the postcode you want to target. So if I wanted to target, my local area, I could say, I'm targeting postcode 4551. I'm just going to include that, and then it shows just that suburb that I'm targeting. 103,000 people apparently in my local area. So that's a small little area, but you can choose the location based on Australia, based on the state, based on the city. Oftentimes I'll do a radius around your business. So I'll say, drop a pin, here's the address, let's focus there. For language, obviously English is a good place to start, but there are ways that you can add different languages in here and have different ads in different languages. I don't see that very often in Australia, but it is with AI possible that you could have Chinese or other languages that you add in there to make sure that those things are popping up. But what I wanted to show you guys is this section here. So since the last time I spoke and at this podcast, which was 2 years ago, this did not exist. And this is why I said to Nick, I'm worried that AI is coming for our jobs pretty soon, because it's just getting easier and easier and easier. And I do think that small business owners could probably run a lot of their ads now without really needing anybody else. You can create your own creatives, you can create all of this, and AI is now kind of like the black box that places everything and gets it in front of you. So what this asset generator has done is it has gone to my website, it's searched to see what products I sell, and it's basically pulled those in here. It's pulled a description as well that AI has generated to say, here is what this business is all about, and then what other pages would I like it to pull from. So it's got my Instagram, Facebook, and my website. All of that, I didn't even have to type anything, which is crazy because obviously you used to have to create everything in Google. So this is all generated by AI. And what it's saying is this correct? Is this what your products and services are? Is this all looking good? I go, yeah, great job, Google, go for it. And what it will do is it's now going to generate all of my ads. So you can see down here that it's now pulled my logo from my website. So it's got my logo there. For some reason, it didn't get my business name, but that's okay. I can type that in. And then if I scroll down, it's created all of the ads, including the headlines and descriptions and everything like that for the business. So it's actually even generated some AI images that I can use just by going, yep, select. And I can create images by generating them with AI using Nano Banana. If any of you guys have tried it, it's really good. And you can basically say, I want you to create an image of me sitting in front of the computer, smiling at camera in 4K or whatever you want. So you can actually add images and then have AI create or remix those images. I had some headshots done recently, which I was done at a LinkedIn local, and it's just me smiling. And I was like, hey, I wonder what I can do with this. I started playing around with the AI Nano Banana, and I was able to put myself into some crazy situations. I was, in a group of people. I was in an office. I was doing all these things, and I was like, this is amazing. It's kind of scary how fast things are moving, and I'm not going to say that AI is going to replace photographers or anything like that, because I do think that we'll still need good photos and things, but it's definitely making it a lot easier for us to remix our photos and create stuff really quickly. So you can see that I can generate images and I can go through, add these into my ads. It's using a lot of like people sitting in front of a computer, which might not be our style, but hey, it's really fast for me to get those going and save that into my ad. Now what you'll see is that it's created and previewing my ads in here. So it's showing a carbon neutral agency. It's showing, bespoke marketing, and it's got those ads in there. It's got my logo. Everything's in my colors as well. So it was really fast, right? To create that ad, AI kind of did it all for me. The coolest thing that I think is really big is that you can now create videos in Google Ads. And this is something that I'm just blown away at how fast this is moving and how amazing these can be. They're not the best videos in the world. I'm not going to lie. I don't think that these will be the best videos you could create, but they're really good if you don't have any videos. You can select out of a whole library of different templates, and then you can create horizontal, vertical, and square videos using your logo. You can add in a voiceover, so you can choose different accents. Obviously we want to be Australian since we're in Australia, so we can go English AU, and then we can pick the voice out of a whole bunch of different voice actors, and we can put in a little script there to kind of have a 15-second video that will be shown on YouTube before the next video. Everybody, skips these ads. So you want to try to get in, 15 seconds worth of gold, so that's getting people's attention, and you're getting your chance to kind of promote your business. I won't go through and generate a whole video because it'll probably take me 5 to 10 minutes, but it doesn't take long. I've created dozens and dozens of videos for clients who have no videos to be able to advertise on YouTube by using this tool, and they work pretty well. Like they're actually really good. We have a client who does a restaurant down in Melbourne, and they've never done any YouTube ads before. We put this together, and they had one of their biggest months with Google Ads that they've ever had. And I think it was because of YouTube. YouTube really shone for them, and people seem to take notice. They're a really good award-winning Italian restaurant, so they just needed to get out there a bit more. And video is a great way of doing that. So I've just walked you guys through how you can create ads using AI in Google. You can see that it took me bugger all time to get that ad together. It's not the world's greatest, but it's a really good starting point for anybody who's wanting help in generating headlines, generating descriptions, generating images, and now even video that you can use on YouTube and all of the different channels. And like I said, you can see these on YouTube, you can see these on Discover, you can see them on all different placements. So you get a huge net that's being cast across the internet to reach your target audience and try to lock them in. The final thing that I'll run you guys through, and then I'll pass back to you, Nick, because I know I'm just about wrapped up, but the data that I was talking about in terms of being able to target people, this, I believe, is one of the best things that you can do with Google Ads. When you can target people based on what they've recently been searching, no other platform of digital marketing allows you to do that. Facebook and Instagram, everybody loves. I love Facebook and Instagram. Well, I have a love-hate relationship, to be fair, but you can target really, really detailed in terms of demographics. But Google has, I would say, 10 to 50 times more data per person, especially in terms of what they're looking for. So being able to drill into people in the market for Facebook marketing training, or digital advertising platforms, or advertising information, web advertising services, digital advertising services, that is completely aligned with the type of people that I'm looking for. If I was to select those, what I'm saying to Google is, with these ads I've just created, I want you to drill in on people in my area who are currently in the market for a digital advertising service or a web advertising service. So you guys can do the exact same thing with Google, where you're saying, I want to go to find people who are in the market for fill in the blank, whatever your service is. You can find that in here, and then your ads are targeting people who have shown Google that they're looking for your service. And that is a really powerful, different factor that Google has that nobody else has. So that's high intent, but at a fraction of the cost, and you're able to get in front of them with, I think, really good looking ads. So that is the Performance Max campaign in a nutshell. Hopefully that's helpful, and you guys are now very inspired to get into Google Ads with all their fancy AI tools. I will go back to my presentation, and I think I can probably wrap there and just open to questions. Thank you everyone for listening, and looking forward to hearing what you think.
Fabulous, excellent, Kyle. That was, man, things have just shifted so much, haven't they, over the period of time when you were last here.
They really have. Yeah, it's kind of scary, but exciting as well.
100%. Now, we do have some questions in chat. I love performance max, says Rosie. Now, there's a question there from Alison. I'm interested to see how privacy is protected, especially with the customer lists that are being uploaded and stored there. So how's that all handled?
That is a really good question. I probably would have to look into exactly how they handle the data, but I do know for a fact that Google is going very much privacy first with all of their, platforms. So Google, their Android, their Chrome browser, their Google Analytics, and they are making it so that you're kind of looking at first person data. I believe that's what it's called, second person, first person. I can't remember the difference, but with customer lists and things like that, I do think that they're not going to take it and use it for anything else. But, obviously, like any platform, if you're uploading customer data, you're uploading things like that, you do need to be mindful of that data, right? So I handle customer lists all the time from clients. Unfortunately, there are risks to sharing data, that's for sure. But Google are not the types of people that I'd worry about taking that data and doing anything, nefarious. They're generally pretty good. It's more where you're storing that data on your computer or on your drive or anything like that I'd be probably more concerned about personally. But I probably have to get back to you on that one, Allison, in terms of exactly how Google handled the data. But I'd say that they handle it pretty well. It's most likely encrypted, most likely very secure. And I don't believe you can download lists from Google Ads from my experience. Once it's in there, you can't remove it. So it's basically uploaded there for them to target or exclude, your customers based on how you want to use it in the ad platform. I don't know if that helps answer your question. Hopefully that makes sense. I see there's a question from Rob. So can you target specific videos or channels for your YouTube ads? You can get very granular, Rob. So you definitely can go very niche. I've heard of some people targeting specific channels to try to get their videos after. We haven't done it particularly ourselves too much, but we generally do it based on interest. So we'll say, digital marketing, if you're looking for digital marketing tips, then we want our videos to show up, just as an example. So that would be one way you can do it. But I do believe you can target it by video or channel. I haven't tried it myself though. So good question. Just see if there's any more questions.
One there about the Merchant Center. Can you use the Merchant Center for online courses?
That's a very good question. So with Merchant, you can use it for digital products. So we've done it before for subscription-based services. I would assume you can do it for online courses as well. I've got a client who does sell courses. I'm just going to quickly see if the Google Merchant is working for their account, but I do believe so. It's a very good question in terms of that. The only thing that I find with Google is that they are very temperamental with stuff, and sometimes they can just be really difficult with some of these things. So they can just kind of arbitrarily just kind of say these products are declined and we're not going to show them. We've had that happen with our agency, with our digital products or subscriptions, and I dare say with online courses it can happen as well. But like I said, if it's a digital product that they can buy online, you can submit it to Google Merchant. You can have that pop up there. So it definitely is possible. We have a client who does digital courses for like wedding certifications, and those do work. I can see that they have they do get traffic from Google Shopping, and yeah, I'd have to double check exactly, but yeah, they seem to be working on Google Merchant. So yeah, you should be able to use it for online courses. Looks like the warrior has a question.
Yes. How are you, mate? Thanks very much for your presentation. Look, I'm probably coming from a very far way back. So traditionally, I've always thought of Google being one for people that got products, selling dolls, selling porcelain gifts. I've never really thought of it. I never really considered it. Never really seen the impact of it for professional services or for small business owners. 95% of us on this call, on this line here would be small business owners, sole traders, professional services. I know you talk about the online course seller, but would someone go to a Google to look for a LinkedIn strategist, or would they not go to LinkedIn itself, or maybe to another platform to find services of that nature. So I'm more trying to get straight in my head whether I should be considering ads and whether I should be considering doing something in this space. So what do you think? This, like I said, it's a very naive question. It's a very
No,
important
no, not at
question.
all.
Yeah.
It's a great question. And I think that most purchases that people make, whether it's a service or product, will start with a Google search or will involve a Google search at some stage in the customer journey. I definitely think that it can't hurt to experiment with your marketing. I always think that every quarter, as a sole trader, as a business owner, you should be trying something new in your marketing mix to see if it could work for you. I think a lot of us are very much focused on social media, but in my 10 years of doing digital marketing for clients, I find that social media can be very hit and miss, whereas Google has always been consistent for most services, most businesses. The reason for that is that, yes, you might think that people would use LinkedIn to find a LinkedIn strategy. That would make sense. But oftentimes people will go to Google to search for tips and information, which is a great way for you to get in front of people as well. I think the hard part, I think, for most businesses is what are the correct searches that will drive the right person through to your website, and then having your website convert them into, doesn't have to be a paid offer, could be a free offer, but how do you convert them into a lead or a booked appointment or to buy a product from your website? So it does take a bit of experimentation, but I do think that Google Ads can be very, very effective. Those display ads I was talking about can be really effective, but again, advertising is only as good as the offer a lot of the time. So it does pay to look at what are the offers that have worked best for you and then putting some money behind those. And I think, Nick, you've got a great course coming up that, talks about setting up funnels, crafting a good offer. And I really do think that to me would be the number one thing to focus on before starting to do Google ads or LinkedIn ads or Meta ads or anything. You want to have a funnel that works. You want to have an offer that works. Otherwise, what's the saying? You can't polish a turd, right? You need to make sure that you're running ads for a great offer. So I'm not calling your service a turd by any means. I just thought I'd use that as an example.
It's been called worse. Don't worry about it. You mentioned the LinkedIn ads. LinkedIn ads compared to Google ads and Facebook ads. You've been in the market. You've done all the research. Google ads number one, Facebook number two, LinkedIn. Because as a LinkedIn strategist, I've always thought LinkedIn ads are very expensive and I don't get the results.
They are very expensive. Yeah, I think they have a minimum cost per click from memory. So they do have generally quite a high cost, but they can be really effective. I think anything can work well. Like we've done ads on LinkedIn, TikTok, Spotify, Pinterest. We've tried ads on most platforms, but I still come back to Google and Facebook just because of the share of the market that they both have. I believe that LinkedIn's somewhere around, I'm going to say probably around 500 million people. It's like 500 million users. Facebook and Instagram, it's 3 billion monthly active users, and Google's about the same. YouTube's 3 billion. Google's got 8 billion searches a day. So it's just the amount of scale that they have. I like Google just because most people will use Google, and if they're not using Google, they're using YouTube. If they're not using YouTube, they're on websites that run Google Ads. So it is I'd say it's probably the biggest ad platform to use as a small business owner. And it doesn't cost the earth. You can still, even in 2025, you can still run some campaigns that get clicks for 10 cents, like it just depends who you're advertising to, what your ads look like, and what your objectives are. If you're trying to get traffic, you can get low cost traffic. If you're trying to get people to buy a product, Google's pretty smart nowadays. It will try to lock in on those people that it thinks will buy, and it will spend more money. So it'll basically, increase the cost per click because you're kind of competing for a much more competitive audience or somebody who's got money to spend. So yeah, I don't know if I would say that LinkedIn's better, Facebook's better, Google's better. It's really just figuring out what's right for your business. But Google does have, I'd say, the broadest reach across the internet. And that's why I'm a big advocate. We do a lot of Meta ads as well, and it's very different. But yeah, Google's good because you've got that intent of targeting people while they're searching, which is generally, the most expensive. But then you can also target people after they've searched and have your display ads and banner ads and YouTube ads and all that other stuff follow people around until they take some action or just ignore you in general.
Hey, Nick, one last one. Sorry, Nick, one last one quickly. Yeah. They say the browsers, Google's going, the new way to search for people now will be on the LLMs. Your perplexities, comments come out. the new browser. Do you see Google search engine diminishing, that the browsers will now be taken over by the large language models, and that we need to position ourselves for the AI language models as opposed to the Googles?
Yeah, definitely. So you're meaning more how to be seen on search? Is that what you mean? Like
Yeah,
how
so
to build
people, I search now on Perplexity. I don't search on Google anymore. I
yeah,
search on chat. If I'm looking for someone, I go on Perplexity, comment. I don't search Google. I'm
yeah.
thinking that's the way it's going to go in the future.
Definitely. Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree. Yeah, I think that the way that Google and Bing and DuckDuckGo, how they index and
yeah,
search websites is very similar to how the large language models work as well. In
okay,
fact, ChatGPT, their biggest shareholder is Microsoft, and Microsoft have Bing search engine. They
yeah,
have a way that you can index your content, your website, and that feeds into ChatGPT. So I think
wow,
good SEO practice will still be relevant for a long time because it funnels straight into AI. And essentially that's how they will look through our content to be able to find it. I do think that we're going to see less searches driving traffic to websites, and that who knows, there could be a future in 10 years where websites are completely redundant and we just talk to an AI and it does everything online for us. So
yeah,
who knows what the future holds, but for now, Google search is still very relevant, and search in AI is using the same kind of tools to find data that a good SEO strategist should be implementing. So as long as you're writing good content, you're answering questions that your target audience are interested in, you're still going to get visibility. It might not be just Google though. It might be ChatGPT, it might be Perplexity, it might be other AI models. But yeah, it's essentially like people will they're not going to stop trying to find people to do things or products to buy or anything like that. So it's just figuring out how to get seen on AI and other things. I hope that answers your question, though, mate.
yeah, yeah. Thanks, Carl. Thanks, Nick. I apologize for that. Thanks very much. Really good. Thank you.
That was a good
All
multi-question. Yeah, that was great.
fabulous, excellent. Thanks for that, Kyle, and thanks for those questions as well too. It's been a fascinating topic, and yeah, as I say, interesting to see how far things have moved as well too. So it makes it a whole lot more accessible for lots of people now, I think. So whereas before, you need to be a bit of a specialist to run the ads. So I really appreciate your time here tonight, Kyle. Now we do have a door prize for tonight as well too, which is, what are we offering for a door prize tonight?
Well, what I'm offering here is we do a session for $297 to help in strategizing your marketing and put together a marketing plan. So I thought that I'd give that away to one lucky individual if they're wanting to get help in crafting a good marketing plan.
And of course, we'll drop your links into chat as well. So if anyone does want to have a conversation with Kyle about, how he might be able to help you in your business, then he's open to that as well too. So we'll drop those links into chat. But right now, let's go and draw that door prize. We've got our wheel of names with everybody's name in it. I know a couple of people have had to duck off early, so you have to be in the room here to win this. So if it does land on one of those that have left, well, then we're in for a second chance because we'll just redraw it again. So let's spin the wheel and see who our lucky winner is tonight. And away it goes. So virtual drum roll to see who our lucky winner is tonight. And it would be not David Fisher, but Josie Fisher tonight. So the Fisher family have got a lucky streak running for them. So well done, Josie. So it's often David that's winning. So
Thank you, that's great.
some of his luck has obviously rubbed off on you there, Josie.
Yeah, obviously, yeah.
Or was it the other way around?
It's the other way around, of course.
But we got the lucky charm.
You have indeed. All right, well,
Thank you, that was great, Carl.
Yeah, looking forward to chatting.
Fabulous. Yes, it was excellent. It was excellent. So hopefully there's some information in there that some of you will be able to go and implement, or at least have a play with some of the new things that are in Google. Now's probably a good time to go and save the chat. So if you click on those three little dots on the right-hand side, top right-hand side of chat, you can save that. We've got Kyle's link in there, got all the online tools in there. And oh, there we go. All the other links. If you want to listen to the replay for this, someone asked about that. It will be up on YouTube tomorrow. So if there are some things that you want to go through and check again, then just check out the Smash Go YouTube channel. In fact, if you go there and subscribe and click the little bell, then you'll get a notification as soon as this replay is uploaded. And who knows, you'll get to watch some videos in there as well too, and see some of the ads that Kyle was talking about as well too. Except if you're Con, who's paying for the premium service, so you don't get the ads. So I'd like that, but sometimes I think it's good to actually see the ads and see what's coming across. So as a digital person. All right, well, look, let's put our hands together for Kyle. Thanks very much for tonight, and thanks everyone for coming along. Next week's topic is all about podcasting. We have a podcast expert here who manages and produces podcasts. So if you're looking at guesting on podcasts or setting up one, next week, that's what the session's all about. All right, let's go out and have a sensational evening, and we'll see you back here next week.